Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by SoundWeb Studios. Visit online at SoundWebStudios.com for all your needs, and brought to you by our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war-ring author Mia Molson's The Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. We're here with an amazing gentleman who's part of a trio from Portland, Oregon, with Geoff Metts as the guitars and vocalist, and also featuring two-thirds of the group not with us tonight, but one day they will, with Dave Ryan as a bass and a vocalist, and also Mike Collins, the drummer as well, too, along with the vocalist as well. And these guys pay homage to the classic bands like the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, Humble Pie, and they also have a self-titled EP, Homegrown, and a new album called No Days Be Wasted. We're playing title track and then audio interview, talk about their amazing music. This may sound a little Southern rock, but live, ladies and gentlemen, for the Plus Studios in beautiful downtown Portland, Oregon, the leader of this wonderful group, Metts Ryan Collins. Sounds like a law firm, but they love to play great music. Ladies and gentlemen, the leader of Metts Ryan Collins, Geoff Metts. Geoff, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thanks for having us, Mike.
Well, it's great to have you aboard as well, too, Geoff. So you guys are a trio from Portland, Oregon, and you play the guitar, and Dave plays the bass as well, and also Dana, I should say. Got my producer.
Dane Ryan and then Mike Collins on the drums.
Yeah, that's right. And the guys all sing as well, too. Paying homage to the Stones, Led Zeppelin, Humble Pie, and more. And you have a self-titled EP, Homegrown, and also you have a new release called No Days Be Wasted. Be playing the title track and more of the song music on Spotify as well. And before getting to all that, Geoff, tell us how you first got started.
Like me personally or the band?
Let's get started with the band first.
Well, I've known Mike and Dane for a long time, and we were playing in a band together called Ants in the Kitchen. It's still an active band. It's like a cover band, right? So it's got a horn section and keys. It's an 8-piece group, and we cover a lot of Stax and Motown and
nice
funk and soul music. And so anyway, one day we had talked about it. Like, oh, we should do some original stuff, because we'd all come from that background. We'd all been in other bands and made a bunch of records and stuff separately. And so anyway, we had this big shared catalog of music that we listened to and that we played a lot live. And so anyway, when it came time to do something, like write our own songs, it came together really quick. Again, because of that familiarity. Plus, those guys are really great players, and there's a lot of experience in the room. And so, we got together and then wrote some really great music, right away. The way it really went down was that we got offered a show, and Dane accepted before we didn't even have a name. He called me one day and he's like, hey, I booked a show for our original band, right? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And that we'd never rehearsed, we'd never really done anything, and I was a little nervous. And so after Dane kind of calmed me down a little bit, finally I was like, well, what did you call the band? What'd you name it? He's like, Metts Ryan Collins. And I said, okay, well, as long as I get top billing, all right, cool, let's do it.
That's really interesting. Almost sounds like Leonard Skinner or Washington Collins. That's what makes me think of almost like a law firm, but you got some great stuff. So,
well, that was kind of the thing. We were looking for a name, and then we just thought of some of those 70s super groups, right? Like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, or there were lots of examples. And so we just used our own last names. And I don't know, it's worked out all right. But to your point, though, when we were trying to come up with the logo, originally, we'd put it out to one graphic artist friend of ours. And most of what he was coming back with, it sort of looked like a law firm or a construction company or whatever. And I was like, it's not that I'm a graphic artist, but I was like, man, I know this isn't the right fit. It's got to look like a band. So when they came up with, our buddy Merrill came up with the logo.
Oh, right? I've seen that. That's amazing.
Right. So, that logo immediately looked like a band, it looked like Thin Lizzy, or a million other bands where the fonts are stylized and it looks like that, and not a law firm. So it was really cool. Once we had that, it's like, all right, cool. Now we're set.
Hmm.
Yeah, oddly enough, we had put that logo on a gong, and we had it for a photo shoot that we did. And the photo of the gong itself, like, was such a striking image that we used that for the cover. But the gong itself, I mean, it's actually sitting right over there. Um, it's something that we've been using live, and I don't know, even that's just kind of a cool backdrop.
That looks really cool. That's one of the best logos I've seen in quite some time. And of course,
Okay.
we talked about Metts, Ryan Collins. We'll talk about your music now. How about you, Geoff? Tell us how you first got started musically.
Well, I've been playing guitar since I was 12. I started taking some lessons, I guess, in high school, and I just really, I mean, that was my thing. It was pretty obvious to me that I just really loved playing music, and um, I was hanging out in the guitar shop, taking some lessons, and really kind of found my tribe of people. And it was just, I remember that being really cool, because I wasn't that much into sports. I wasn't that much into a lot of other things that I think kids maybe find community in or whatever. But playing music was like, yeah, this I can get behind. This is cool. So like, growing up, it's one of those things where, like, I didn't know that much about, like, stats of who was playing on what NFL team, but I could tell you who produced the last Aerosmith record. There's stuff like that where, just from listening to the stuff and looking at it, and just really thinking that those were important things to know, like, and just trying to educate myself early on, and trying to network with other players, trying to figure out, like, putting together your first band, that kind of stuff. It was exciting times. But I once I got to college, I was playing a lot. That's kind of how I put myself through school. And then I moved out to Portland in 2000. Played in some bands, had some success. Really got a chance to play a lot of big shows, and to license music to film and television, and got a chance to work with a lot of cool people. And then I had started a band with Dane, and then we got Mike to come play drums, and it was really fun. It was really a different thing, I think, for all of us to have this cover band. But instead of just doing, like, top 40 stuff, I mean, we were playing a lot of, like, older tunes again, like Stax and Motown kind of stuff. And early on, like, a lot of the stuff that we did as Ants was, kind of blues based. I played a lot of slide guitar in that, and so we used that as, in a way, it was kind of a platform for jumping out and doing our own original stuff. And we've done so much together as a trio, be it backing other people, or I mean, we've done studio work where we've backed up other artists, right? They just sort of hire the band, piecemeal or together.
Hmm.
So we've had a chance to play a ton and be in the studio a lot together, beyond what we've been doing before and what we're doing separately. And so I really feel grateful to have had the opportunity to work with such great players that are like friends of mine, and we have the shared uh, list of material, and then to be able to focus that and write really songs that really impress us. I don't want to say
Hmm.
like really great rock songs, but yeah, they're really great rock songs. It's true.
Mm. It does sound quite interesting. And who are some of your favorite singers, songwriters, and musicians growing up?
Man, I mean, all the kind of classic rock stuff that was always on the radio, and so there's like Beatles and Stones, and listen to a lot of, like, AC/DC and Motorhead and Ozzy and all that kind of stuff. But in the process of listening to those things and realizing that, like, you know, Angus Young listened to Jimi Hendrix and Keith Richards, and those guys were listening to Muddy Waters, whatever. Like, it kind of worked backward, and
Mm.
started
Yeah.
listening to a lot of blues music and folk music, and country music later on. I mean, I was like, wasn't too much into that early on, but I have a much bigger appreciation for it now.
Mhm. Right. And goes all the way back to, the Muddy Waters, the Robert Johnson, and of course
Absolutely, yeah.
Howlin' Wolf and all those guys and their influence, even back in the 1900s, 1800s and everything else. And you got to thank all the pioneers out there. Muddy Waters, definitely inspiration as well too.
Well, I mean, there's a song on this album that we credited both to us and Leadbelly, and we sampled Leadbelly on it, and I mean, the part that we sampled is just him talking about the song. But, I mean, that song, Old Hannah, really is written by no one. I mean, there's no attributed writer. That's out of the Alan Lomax book. It's an old prison song, like a
Oh
prison
wow.
work song. And Leadbelly had done a version of it, but he learned that in prison. I mean, like, so that particular song meant a lot to me because I had heard it. I still teach some guitar lessons, but I taught a lot of guitar lessons over the years. And I had a student that turned me on to that Lomax book, the American Songbook. And the version that the student had been listening to was this group called the Limelighters. And, it's a folk group from the 50s, and I think they probably had a lot of success. And I don't mean to be disparaging, but the lyrics to the song are about like working so hard in the sugar fields, being like basically driven to death in these work camps. And the lyrics are really heavy. Meanwhile, the version that I first heard was this sort of 3-part harmony, like kind of schmaltzy thing. And it just, there seemed a disparity between the heaviness of the lyrics and then this really refined, like barbershop quartet treatment of it.
Or sounds like Kingston Trio more like so.
Well, right, that kind of thing, right? And so I had thought that somebody should do a heavier version of it, that is a little more stripped down, certainly in terms of harmony, but also that really like had the music match the intensity of the lyrics.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kind of sat on that for a few years, and eventually one day I came up with something that I really liked, and it's that riff, it's that we used on that recording, and I just loved it. I finally felt like I was doing it justice, and it was important to me because we have a lot of reverence for Leadbelly and all those people that we just mentioned, and a whole lot more. And the last thing that I wanted to do was have just something that I felt okay about. Like I feel really strongly about that song and everything on this record, but it's great. It's killer. It was exactly what I wanted to hear. And so it was like, all right, cool. I want to share this with people.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing that we recorded on this album. It was going to come out as part of the compilation for Portland Radio Project. And they hooked us up with the producer and a studio. We did it. The compilation album kind of fell apart, and so we had this recording, and they said, well, it's yours now, you do what you want with it.
Oh wow.
And that was going to be along with 3 other songs that we recorded, it was going to be this EP we were going to put out in the spring of 2020. That didn't happen, and we weren't playing after that. All our live shows were canceled, and so we just kind of hunkered down in the studio, and we recorded a bunch of other songs and put out this record. And I feel like, maybe because we had a little bit more time, maybe because we didn't know, especially at the time we were writing some of the stuff, if we would ever play again. Nobody knew what was going to happen then. It was heavy times. And so I think that the lyrical content, is a little more, I don't know, mature, thought out. It's less rock and roll songs about, stealing somebody's girlfriend, and a little bit more about the, broader things in life,
Mm-hmm. Right. And it seems to change too. Makes you think of a country song gone wrong and going to current time. So we have all that. So we'll talk about your self-titled EP, Homegrown, and No Days Be Wasted with Geoff Metts of Metts Ryan's Columns. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960 or email to support@sonicwebstudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international war ring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those you love will be the first go missing. It's available on Amazon in paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews, and Eve 11 enjoys by Howard celebrities, including Joanna Cassidy, Forbes Riley, and Else. So grab your copy today for Girls Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Also, check out the Mike Wagner Show at themikewagnershow.com on over 40 podcast platforms. Heard in over 100 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also, Anchor FM, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon, Audible. Also on HamiltonRadio.net every Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 Central. Also on BitChute, Rumble, and more. Take us with you on any mobile device. Subscribe to the Mike Wagner Show on the YouTube channel. Follow the Mike Wagner Show on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok today. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags, hoodies. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Great books like Misting, Once, and Wrinkles. Also T-shirts, pop sockets, hoodies, phone cases, and more. Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia. Check it out today. I'll support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Make sure you do so today. We're here with an amazing gentleman from Metts, Ryan Collins, here on the Mike Wagner Show. Geoff Metts, the guitarist of the group and the band leader, and they put out self-titled, homegrown, and more. And before we get to No Days Be Wasted, once again, tell us about your self-titled EP, Metts, Ryan Collins, and homegrown as well too in some of the music.
Well, the first EP that we put out, we recorded live to tape. And we hadn't really experimented with that kind of recording before. So we found a studio that had a tape machine, and we basically recorded guitar, bass, and drums live. We overdubbed the vocals after the fact, but we really were aiming for kind of the highest fidelity, and trying to capture some real energy in a room, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it was a fun experiment for us, and I think we did just that. It was really cool. It was again, high fidelity. We had like just really great a mix of equipment that was like new and old, right? And some like real vintage stuff, including that tape machine, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we were really pleased with the way that turned out. We took those 4 songs and combined them with 6 others and put out Homegrown. And on Homegrown, we had we upped the production a little bit, but one of the big things that we had going for us was we had the opportunity to have a little bit more time to write, and we did some recording too, like in some different studios. It was kind of nice to just experiment with some different sounds and compile that. And we were really happy with that. I was super pleased. I thought at the time it was like the best thing that I'd ever recorded until we did this. And I'm super pleased with the way that No Days Be Wasted came out. There's a lot of cool stuff about how we recorded that too. I mean, like, the title track, No Days Be Wasted, is the last thing that we did. And for that, at the suggestion of our producer and friend and cohort and conspirator, Kevin Hahn, we went out to the coast. We recorded that at a house instead of a recording studio. And we didn't have the song written when we got out there. His suggestion was, let's do kind of an acoustic, swampy, kind of stomped tune. It'll be something that's a little bit different than whatever else is on there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really counterintuitive for us to go into the studio unprepared, because normally, whether you're there as like, a studio player for somebody else's record, or you're doing it yourself, like either way, time's money. So by the time you get in the studio, you're usually very well rehearsed, and it's just about the execution of whatever, part you're trying to play or sing. So we literally showed up to a place with like two chord progressions that we were calling part A and part B. And that, like a Friday night, we sat around a table with a couple of acoustic guitars and came up with an arrangement. The next morning, we got up early, like with a cup of coffee, played through it again. It still sounded good, and started recording. And I recorded, some guitar tracks along with a click track like that morning. We got the drums set up and figured out a way to mic that. And we really made use of the sound of the room itself. Like we said, some big vaulted ceilings, and we recorded some of it in a loft upstairs, and just tried to. We were really kind of thinking about some of those mobile recordings that like the Stones did or Led Zeppelin, where they would just camp out of the house and make recordings there. So we had that experience, and it turned out great. I'm really pleased with that song, and it felt really good to come away with not only like a serviceable song, but something we felt really great about. And and the sentiment of it too, that no days be wasted. It was really cool, and we felt like it sort of encapsulated the whole thing. So
and you mentioned about the fact, like with the Stones and recording outside along with Led Zeppelin, made me think of the Beatles, where it's like they did some of their songs where it's like, they'll stretch their tape, it's like, from the tape machine, wrap around a lamp, a chair, a pencil, and just get on effects. Made me think of that for some reason. So
yeah. Yeah, it's fun to be able to experiment with just different recording techniques and different equipment, because it makes you play different. It's just like grabbing a different guitar and realizing that, when you play on that, it sounds a little different, makes you play a little bit different. And next thing you know, you got like a different voice than you would have otherwise.
mm-hmm.
Been cool.
It does, yeah. It sounds like it. And we already talked about No Days Be Wasted, especially the title track. You also had Back to Sleep, On My Way, Half the World Away, Complicated, Old Hannah, and more as well too. And tell us more about those songs and what inspired you to write them.
Well, when we got back together, like so we were planning to put out an EP in the spring of 2020, and then we didn't get together. After like the pandemic kind of broke out, we didn't see each other for like, I don't know, a couple months, which was probably the longest time that I'd gone without seeing those guys in years, right? So when we did get back together, you can imagine, like, we meet up at the rehearsal space and we kind of take off our masks, and it's like, okay, I guess we'll play. So
Showtime, yeah.
and the thing of it was like really cool is it seemed like everybody had so many great ideas, and so for Back to Sleep, Dane had that bass part that it starts with, and he started playing that, and I was like, okay, cool. So if you're gonna do that, then I'll do this. And then I came up with another part to it, and very quickly we had a whole song, and not just a whole song, but like something that we felt really great about. It seemed like really powerful music that was like, catchy but unique, and sort of sounded like a lot of things, but actually sounded like none of them. And then we wrote some words about that whole concept of Back to Sleep, meaning that, like, once you realize that things are different than you thought, and it's hard to not see that, and there was so many changes going on at the time, and everything seemed so like heavy. It was just like, wow, there's a lot going on here, and what was important yesterday is basically irrelevant because of new information. I think everybody was kind of feeling that to some degree, but and that's what we were thinking about when we wrote those words. And let's see, what were the others that you asked about? I
They're
never
they're
went.
they're on the album too. It talked about Back to Sleep, On My Way, Half the World Away,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
also
Well,
Complicated Old Hannah.
yeah, yeah. So, on my way was written primarily on a beach in Mexico, but the whole thing with that was that I was scheduled to go to Amsterdam. I was going to play a couple of shows and just hang out in the Netherlands for a week, and I had a passport, but it was due to expire in like 85 days or something.
Oh wow.
I got stopped in my like in the airport. They're like, hey, the Netherlands has a rule that if your passport's due to expire in less than 90 days, I mean, even though I was supposed to be back in less than 10 days, um, they weren't having it. And so, I didn't realize that that was even a thing. And so I had to like very quickly, like basically at the airport, decide like I could either go to, I mean, they were willing to credit me. And I thought, well, this is like March of whatever year. I had a backpack full of like jeans and sweaters and my guitar. And I wound up picking Mexico, right? So I had about 8 hours to go home, repack, and then figure out where I was going to stay.
Oh
They
my
were
gosh.
they were going to fly me to like Cancun, which I'd been there once before, and I thought, okay, there's lots of hotels, I can figure this out. But it was such a rush, of like, okay, I have to find a place to stay. I should probably arrange that while I'm in the United States. So, I did just that, and I went and just like the clothes I had, I bought like, a bathing suit when I got to the hotel, and I just hung out in Mexico for the week. But while I was on the beach, I was reading the book and I had an idea for a tune. And I started writing like in the book, and just on the extra pages at the end of it where I had time, and it was pretty fully formed. Like basically every word sort of came out in one thing, and I came back and figured out the music later. Um, every one of them's a little bit different story. Half the World Away was another one of those like bass parts that Dane had that he just started playing when we first got in. We were just kind of warming up. I hadn't even turned the microphones on. Dane starts playing that. So then Mike started playing, and I figured out something, and it sounded really good. And so I
Wow.
just wrote around that. Um, there's an instrumental on there called Valle de la Muerta, that like it's a really cool guitar riff, and that the music was really cool. We loved it, but we could never find words that we thought were cool enough for the music. Right, the
Hmm.
music itself was just too good. Right, and so we decided to do it as an instrumental. We kind of expanded on it a little bit with that in mind. And but we just thought like, well, like it'll be like whatever the instrumental is, Moby Dick on Led Zeppelin too. I mean, there's plenty of precedent for like instrumental rock songs, so we decided to put that on just to amuse ourselves.
Huh, that's rather
Um,
interesting as well, too. I'll talk about some of your other songs from No Days Be Wasted with Geoff Metts from Metts Ryan Collins. You listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by Sonic Web Studios, and brought to you by our official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson Missing. We'll be back with Geoff Metts and Metts Ryan Collins after this time. We're back with the leader of Metts, Ryan Collins, Geoff Metts here on the Mike Wagner Show. And Geoff covers just a lot of ground, being around Portland and having the trio from Portland with Dane Ryan and Mike Collins as well, too. And the story behind the whole thing. And just a couple more songs from your release, No Days Be Wasted, Saying What I'm Thinking. You can talk if you want about Can't Stop Feeling This Way. And Valley Day, I can't pronounce that one. Careful what you wish for, and just pick a couple more and talk about those. If there's other music you want to talk about, feel free to do so.
sure. Well, Say What I'm Thinking is a song that was in the original batch of tunes. I was telling you that Dane booked a show without us ever rehearsing, and just made up a name. I was like, hey, good news, I booked a show for us. Um, so, pressed with that. And again, we'd all had successful groups here in town, and had success, all over, but especially here in town. So we felt like we had a kind of a reputation to live up to. And what ended up happening is we wrote a bunch of cool songs. And say what I'm thinking, we played, I think there were 5 songs that we wrote in 5 weeks or something, and then we did a couple of covers that first show. This is one of them. So as we were thinking of songs that we wanted to do for this album, that was one that we always felt like went over well live, and it would be worthwhile to record. And yeah, boy, well, complicated is complicated. I mean, I wrote that very much about just my own experience with some stuff that kind of happened with my family. And I moved here from Idaho, like to Portland. So in that, I had written a song that I thought, like, one was like really cathartic for me, just to write about that. And I was thinking about that Hemingway quote, was it like, write clear and hard about the things that hurt, that's what makes great art.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and goes with the wine too. So he drank a lot of it.
Right. So, I wrote that and was, I felt like being very vulnerable in doing that. But it also was a really catchy tune, and I really liked it. So I showed it to the guys in the band, thinking like, I don't know if this was going to be too much of a departure from what we've been doing or whatever. And they really liked it. And so we used it. I mean, it's basically the exact same arrangement that I'd done as like a demo at my house. And, it turned out great. I'm really, really proud of it. It's cool. And I feel like the whole album is an expansion of what we've done before, in terms of production, in terms of songwriting, in terms of the genres that are there. And, and we worked out of like 4 different studios to make it happen, including that house where we did the mobile recording.
Oh, wow.
And the recording of it happened over a couple of years, right? I mean, so it was a different experience than we'd had before. And I think it was good for us. We expanded as artists and musicians, and we got a chance to do a bunch of cool stuff that we thought was cool.
And that sounds like it as well too. Where can we find No Days Be Wasted and all your works at, Geoff?
Well, all that stuff's on the streaming platforms, and you can buy the disc at our website, mettsryancollins.com. It's mettsryancollins.com. You can get it on our page at Bandcamp, and just search for Metts Ryan Collins, No Days Be Wasted. You'll find it. At this time, it's streaming. You can download it on a number of different platforms, but also these compact discs. And on the compact discs, there's a couple.
Yeah, just like the cassette, the 8-track, and all that compact disc.
Just in time to be relevant and hip all again. We pressed some of those, but because of the format, right, because it's longer than vinyl anyway, we added a couple of other songs that aren't on this album. There's a live one that's off of our other homegrown record that we recorded a couple of years ago, and it's cool. We listened back to it, I was like, it's we're on fire. And then the other one was it was an acoustic only, like just an acoustic guitar and the vocals version of Complicated. Kevin Hahn, who produced this record, did another mix just to show us what that sounded like, because the vocal harmonies are pretty cool, and we really worked on that. And he was like, here, check this out, and it worked. And I wanted to share it with people, but there was no, it seemed like a hidden track was the coolest way to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a Easter egg.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like it too, that they can find all those gems. We're with Geoff Metts of Metts Ryan Collins here on the Mike Wagner Show. And Geoff, just a couple more things. What can we expect from you guys in 2023 and beyond?
Well, we're gonna play some shows and probably write some more songs, and probably more hopefully more interviews like this, and we'll see what's next. But yeah, in the meantime, we're just excited to share it and get it out there. Appreciate you having us on. And yeah, maybe I'll swing by your show, try to pick up a throw pillow. I think I might already have the tote bag. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
but yeah, man, we appreciate it. We appreciate what you're doing too, trying to shed some light on new tunes.
And it's our pleasure as well, too. Love to have you back. And who do you consider biggest influence in your career?
Um, wow. I don't know. I suppose, um, I don't know. I suppose like Keith Richards or Angus Young or something, something along those lines. Joe Perry or Paul McCartney or something.
Okay.
Um, but we've taken a lot of influence from a lot of people because we just really love music, and there's all kinds of stuff out there. And on this record, man, there's a song that kind of reminds us of like the Police, and a song where we actually sample Leadbelly, and songs that are very much about us, and I think songs that are very, very universal, and it feels good to put out something that's so wide ranging and feel comfortable with all of it.
And certainly does as well, too. And what's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
Anybody?
Anybody.
Well, I would say everybody should just try to relax and give everybody else a little bit of slack. I think people have been through a lot lately, and it just, everybody could just chill out a little.
I think that's the best advice on the planet. I got to say that. We're with Geoff Metts of Metts Ryan Collins here on the Mike Wagner Show with No Days Be Wasted. Geoff, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to have you
Hey,
guys
me
all
too,
on
man.
soon.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no problem. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. And once again, what's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your works?
All right. All of it can be found at mettsryancollins.com. So mettsryancollins.com. There's videos and all kinds of stuff about us and links to all of the stuff that you want to find out. And yeah, check us out there.
We will certainly do so. Once again, Geoff, a very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Looking forward to it soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back and wish you all the best. And Geoff, you and the guys have definitely a great future ahead of you.
Much appreciated, man. Thanks so much, Mike.